I stared at my phone for what must have been 5 full minutes before I set it down on the kitchen counter. The text message was still glowing there, waiting for a response I wasn't sure how to give. "Hey, can you co-sign on a car loan for me? Need it by Friday. Thanks." No greeting, no explanation. Just the assumption that I would say yes, the way I always had before. What made it harder to process was that just 8 days earlier, this same young man had looked me in the eyes across my own dinner table and said, with absolute conviction, "You're not my dad. You never were." I'm 54 years old. I've worked in municipal infrastructure for nearly 30 years. I've managed budgets, negotiated union contracts, supervised teams of engineers and contractors. I'm not easily rattled. But standing there in my kitchen that Tuesday morning, holding a cup of coffee that had gone cold while I stared at those two sentences, I felt something shift inside me that I hadn't expected. It wasn't anger exactly. It was more like the sudden clarity you get when you've been looking at something blurry for years and someone finally hands you the right prescription glasses. Tyler is 23 now. I met him when he was 7, a quiet kid with dark hair and his mother's green eyes who spent most of our first meeting hiding behind Amanda's legs at the park. Amanda and I had been introduced by mutual friends, and I remember thinking even then that she seemed exhausted in a way that went deeper than just single parenthood. We dated for 2 years before I proposed. Tyler was 9 by then, and he'd started calling me Mark instead of avoiding my name altogether, which I took as progress. Amanda had been clear from the beginning that her ex-husband, Tyler's biological father, had been out of the picture since Tyler was 4. No calls, no child support, no birthday cards. He just left, she told me on our 4th or 5th date, staring into her wine glass. Told me he wasn't ready to be a father, and that was that. I didn't try to be Tyler's dad right away. I knew better than that. I just tried to be consistent. I showed up. I kept my promises. When I told him I'd be at his baseball game, I was there, even when work ran late. When I said we'd go fishing on Saturday, we went fishing on Saturday. Amanda and I married the summer Tyler turned 10. We had a small ceremony in her parents' backyard, and Tyler stood next to me in a suit that was slightly too big for him, holding the rings. He smiled in all the photos, and I thought maybe we were building something real. I never formally adopted Tyler. Amanda and I discussed it a few times over the years, but there always seemed to be a reason to wait. First, she thought we should give it more time, let Tyler adjust. Then his biological father briefly resurfaced when Tyler was 13, making vague promises about reconnecting that never materialized. And Amanda worried about the legal complications. Then Tyler was in high school, and it seemed too late to matter. "He knows you're his real dad in all the ways that count," Amanda would tell me. "A piece of paper doesn't change that." I believed her because I wanted to believe her. I paid for Tyler's braces when he was 12. Cost me $4,000, which wasn't nothing on a city employee's salary, but I didn't hesitate. I taught him to drive when he was 15, spending patient Saturday mornings in empty parking lots while he jerked the car forward and backward, learning the clutch. I sat through every parent-teacher conference, every school concert, every football game, where he mostly sat on the bench, but tried hard anyway. When he graduated high school, I cried, actually cried, sitting there in the bleachers, watching him walk across the stage. Amanda squeezed my hand and whispered, "You did that. You got him here." I paid for his first 2 years at community college. Tyler had wanted to go to a 4-year university, but his grades weren't quite there and the cost was astronomical. We'd sat down together, the 3 of us, and worked out a plan. Community college first, save money, bring up his GPA, then transfer. "I'll cover tuition and books," I told him. "You cover your gas and spending money with your part-time job. Deal?" He'd nodded, looking genuinely grateful. "Thanks, Mark, really. I won't waste it." He didn't waste it exactly, but he didn't take it seriously either. He skipped classes, failed 2 courses his first semester, scraped by with C's and D's. I'd try to talk to him about it, but Amanda would intervene. "He's adjusting," she'd say. "It's a big change. Give him time." I gave him time. I gave him 2 years and about $18,000 in tuition for an associate degree he never finished because he decided halfway through his 4th semester that college wasn't for him. "I want to do something real," he announced at dinner one night. "Something with my hands. I'm thinking about becoming an electrician." I thought that was fine, actually. Trades pay well, and there's dignity in skilled work. "That's a solid choice," I told him. "You'll need to look into apprenticeship programs. I can help you research." "I've already got it figured out," he interrupted. "I'm just letting you know." He didn't have it figured out. 3 months later, the electrician idea had evaporated, replaced by a plan to get into real estate, then personal training. Then cryptocurrency day trading, which mostly involved him watching YouTube videos in his room until 2 a.m. He was still living with us. 21 years old, no degree, no trade, no clear direction, sleeping in the bedroom I'd painted for him when he was 10 and helped him convert into a teen space when he was 14 and never asked him to pay rent for because Amanda said it would damage his self-esteem during a vulnerable time. I started to notice things shifting when Tyler was around 22. Little comments, small dismissals that added up over time. I'd offer advice about job applications, and he'd say, "You don't really understand how things work now. Everything's different than when you were looking for work." I'd suggest he save money instead of buying another pair of expensive sneakers, and he'd smile tightly and say, "I've got it under control." Amanda started running interference more often. "He's finding his way," she'd say. "Everyone's path is different. Your generation had it easier. Houses were affordable. Jobs were stable. You can't compare." I didn't think I had it easier. I thought I'd worked 70-hour weeks for years to get where I was. But I didn't argue. I just kept showing up, kept trying to be supportive, kept hoping that eventually something would click for him. Last year, Tyler got a job at a gym, front desk, part-time, minimum wage. He acted like he'd won the lottery. "This is it," he told us at dinner. "This is my entry into the fitness industry. I'm going to work my way up, maybe become a manager, then open my own gym someday." I said that sounded great and asked if he was putting anything into savings now that he had income. He looked at me like I'd suggested he donate a kidney. "Savings? I'm barely making anything. I need to enjoy my life a little, you know?" Enjoy your life meant a new phone, new shoes every month, nights out at bars and restaurants that he definitely couldn't afford on his gym salary. I knew because Amanda would mention, casually, that she'd spotted him some cash for this or that. "How much are you giving him?" I asked her one night after he'd left to meet friends. "Just a little here and there." "He's struggling, Mark. Do you want him to suffer?" "I want him to learn that money doesn't just appear." "He knows that. He's working, isn't he?" 15 hours a week at a gym front desk wasn't working, not in my book. But I didn't push it. I was trying to keep the peace, trying not to be the stereotype of the hard-ass stepdad. I told myself that Tyler was young, that he'd mature, that this was just a phase. Then came Amanda's birthday this past March. I'd planned it for weeks. Dinner at her favorite restaurant, the one downtown with the view of the river. I'd made reservations a month in advance. I'd bought her a necklace she'd been admiring in a shop window for 6 months, but would never buy for herself. Tyler knew about the dinner. I'd mentioned it at least 3 times. "Your mom's birthday dinner is Saturday at 7, I'd said. "You're coming, right?" Yeah, I'll be there." Saturday came. Amanda and I got to the restaurant a little early. We sat at the table, ordered drinks, waited. 7 o'clock became 7:15. 7:15 became 7:30. I texted Tyler, "Where are you? We're waiting to order." 20 minutes later, he responded, "Sorry can't make it. Something came up with friends. Tell Mom happy birthday." Amanda's face did that thing where she tries to smile but her eyes go flat. "It's fine," she said. "He's young. His friends probably needed him. He committed to being here." "I know, but things happen. Let's not ruin the night being upset." I tried not to be upset. I really did. But I kept thinking about all the times I'd rearranged my schedule for Tyler's events, all the times I'd shown up even when I was exhausted or had other obligations, and how he couldn't manage to show up for a simple birthday dinner for the woman who'd raised him. He came home around 2 in the morning. I heard him stumbling in, laughing with someone on the phone. The next morning, he slept until noon. When he finally emerged, I was in the kitchen. "That was pretty disrespectful last night," I said, keeping my voice level. He grabbed a soda from the fridge, didn't look at me. "What was?" "Missing your mother's birthday dinner without even calling." I texted. "An hour after we were supposed to start with no real explanation." He shrugged. "Something came up." I said, "I was sorry." "You said sorry can't make it." That's not the same as being sorry." Now he looked at me, and there was something in his expression I hadn't seen before, something cold. "Why do you always do this?" he said. "Do what?" "Make everything into a lecture. It was one dinner. Mom doesn't even care." "Your mom was hurt, Tyler. She just didn't want to make you feel bad about it." "Well, you're making me feel bad about it now, so thanks for that." He walked out of the kitchen, and I heard his bedroom door close with a firm click. Amanda found me sitting at the counter a few minutes later. "What happened?" I told her. She sighed a long, tired sound. "Mark, I appreciate you defending me, but I really am fine. He's going through something. He's stressed with work and figuring out his life. Can you just give him some grace?" I wanted to say that I'd been giving him grace for 16 years. I wanted to ask when grace was supposed to turn into accountability, but I didn't. I just nodded and finished my coffee in silence. Things got colder after that. Tyler avoided me. Conversations became transactional, requests for things mostly. Could I move my car so he could get out easier? Could I keep the TV down after 10 because he needed to sleep for an early shift? Could Amanda ask me to pick up the specific brand of protein powder he liked? I started to feel like a roommate he tolerated rather than a parent he respected. But I told myself I was being sensitive, that I was taking things too personally. Then came last week. It was a Thursday night. I'd gotten home late from a city council meeting that had run long, one of those exhausting sessions where everyone argues about budget allocations for hours without reaching any real conclusions. I was tired, hungry, and looking forward to a quiet evening. Tyler was in the living room when I walked in, playing video games with the volume up loud enough that I could hear it from the entryway. Amanda was working late at her office. It was just the two of us. "Hey," I said, setting my briefcase down, "can you turn that down a little?" He didn't respond, didn't even look over. "Tyler, the volume." He paused the game, grabbed the remote, and turned it down exactly 1 notch. Then he went back to playing. I stood there for a moment, deciding whether this was worth engaging. I decided it wasn't. I went into the kitchen to make dinner. About 20 minutes later, Tyler came in. He opened the fridge, stared into it like he was expecting something to materialize, then closed it with more force than necessary. "There's no food," he said, accusatory. "There's plenty of food. I'm making pasta right now if you want some. I mean, real food, something actually good." I kept stirring the sauce. "You're welcome to go pick something up if you don't like what's here." "I don't have money for that." "Then I guess pasta it is." He made a disgusted sound. "You know, you could at least try to keep stuff in the house that people actually want to eat." Something about his tone, the entitlement, the ingratitude, made something snap in me, not loudly, not dramatically, just a quiet, internal break. I turned off the stove and faced him. "Tyler, I've kept this house stocked with food you like for 16 years. I've paid for groceries, meals out, everything. If you have a specific request, you're welcome to buy it yourself or ask politely. But I'm not your personal chef or your ATM." His face flushed. "I never said you were." "No, but you act like it. You act like everything here is just automatically yours, like you're entitled to it without any appreciation or contribution." "Contribution? I live here. This is my house, too." "It's actually not. It's my house. I pay the mortgage. I pay the utilities. I pay for the food you're complaining about." Oh, here we go. The I pay for everything speech. Classic Mark. It's not a speech, it's a fact. You're 23 years old, working part-time, paying nothing toward rent or groceries, and you're standing in my kitchen complaining that I'm not catering to your preferences enough. He stared at me, and I could see genuine anger building in his eyes now. You know what your problem is, he said, voice rising. You think because you've paid for stuff you own me, like I owe you something, like I should be grateful for every little thing. I don't think you owe me anything except basic respect, which lately seems like too much to ask. Respect? You want to talk about respect? You're not even my real father. You're just some guy who married my mom. The words hung in the air between us. I felt them land, felt the weight of them, but I didn't react the way he probably expected. I didn't yell. I didn't get defensive. I just looked at him, really looked at him, and saw someone I'd poured years of my life into who genuinely believed I was replaceable. You're right, I said quietly. I'm not your father. Your father left when you were 4 and never looked back. I'm the guy who stayed. I'm the guy who paid for your braces and your education and every meal you've eaten under this roof for 16 years. I'm the guy who taught you to drive and helped you with homework and sat through every school event. But you're absolutely right. I'm not your dad. His face went pale, then red. I didn't mean... Yes, you did. And that's fine. But if I'm just some guy who married your mom, then I think we need to reset expectations about what that relationship looks like going forward. I turned back to the stove, turned it back on, and continued making dinner. Tyler stood there for another moment, then left the kitchen. I heard his door slam hard enough to rattle the frame. When Amanda got home an hour later, Tyler had already retreated to his room. I was eating pasta alone at the kitchen table. "Everything okay?" she asked, reading the tension immediately. I told her what happened, all of it, every word. She listened, and I watched her face cycle through several emotions: surprise, hurt, defensiveness, resignation. "He didn't mean it," she finally said. "He was frustrated and lashing out. You know how he gets." "Actually, Amanda, I think he did mean it. And I think he's been feeling that way for a while now. Mark, please. He's just going through a hard time. His whole generation is struggling, and he's trying to find his way, and sometimes he takes it out on the people closest to him. That's normal. What's not normal is that he's 23, contributing nothing, and treating me like an inconvenience in my own home." She flinched. "It's our home." "Is it?" "Because he just made it very clear that I'm not his family. He's my son. I know, and I've never asked you to choose between us. But I also can't keep pretending that this dynamic is healthy. He needs boundaries, Amanda. He needs expectations and consequences, and you've spent years protecting him from both." Her eyes got hard then, protective. "I've spent years being his mother. Maybe if you had children of your own, you'd understand that parenthood isn't about rules and consequences. It's about support and love." The words stung more than Tyler's had because they came from her. "I thought I was doing both," I said quietly. She softened, reached for my hand. "You are. You have been. I need you to be patient with him, please. He'll mature. He just needs more time." I didn't argue, but that night, lying in bed next to her, I started thinking clearly for the first time in a long time. The next few days were tense but quiet. Tyler avoided me completely. Amanda was overly cheerful, trying to smooth things over without actually addressing anything. I went to work, came home, ate dinner, and thought. I thought about 16 years of trying, 16 years of investing time, money, emotion, and energy into a relationship that Tyler had just casually dismissed as meaningless. I thought about all the times Amanda had asked me to be patient, to give him grace, to understand that his generation had it harder. I thought about my retirement account, which should have been significantly larger by now but wasn't, because I'd prioritized Tyler's needs. I thought about the vacations Amanda and I had postponed because Tyler needed something: tuition, a laptop, car repairs on the old Honda we'd bought him that he'd wrecked twice. I thought about what my life might look like if I'd had the same standards for Tyler that my own parents had for me. contribute, or move out. Respect the people who support you or figure it out on your own. And I thought about that text message I'd gotten from Tyler 2 years ago, the one where he'd asked me to co-sign on an apartment lease so he could move out with friends. "I just need your signature," he'd written. "The landlord wants someone with established credit. You probably won't even have to pay anything." I'd wanted to say no. My gut had told me to say no. But Amanda had convinced me it would be good for him, that independence would help him mature, that refusing would damage our relationship. I'd co-signed. Tyler had lived in that apartment for 4 months before he and his roommates fell behind on rent, because none of them had stable enough employment. When the landlord came after me for the money, I'd paid 3 months of back rent, $4,200, to protect my credit score and avoid an eviction judgment. Tyler had never paid me back. Amanda had insisted he would when he got on his feet, but he never did. Eventually, the subject just stopped coming up. I was remembering all of this, adding it up like an accountant reviewing a ledger, when my phone buzzed with his message. "Hey, can you co-sign on a car loan for me? Need it by Friday. Thanks." I set the phone down and stared at it for those 5 long minutes. Then I picked it back up and scrolled through our message history. It was almost entirely him asking me for things: money, rides, favors, the occasional thanks or appreciate it, but nothing resembling an actual conversation or genuine relationship. I opened my banking app and looked at my checking account balance. Comfortable, but not as comfortable as it should be for someone at my income level and stage of life. I thought about all the line items over the years that had Tyler's name attached to them. Then I did something I'd never done before. I went to the filing cabinet in my home office and pulled out a folder I kept for financial records. Inside were receipts, bank statements, and documents going back years. I sat down with a calculator and started adding. Tuition, $18,200. Apartment co-sign back rent, $40,200. Car insurance, 3 years of coverage when he was 16-19, $7,800. The Honda, we bought him at 16, $3,400 repairs. On that Honda, $2,900 braces, $4,000 laptop for college, $1,200 phone bills before he got his own plan last year, roughly $2,400 medical expenses, not covered by insurance, approximately $1,800 plus approximately $300-500 per month in groceries, household items, utilities, and housing for 16 years. I stopped calculating the monthly expenses when the number got too large to feel real. Just the big-ticket items came to $45,900, almost $46,000, and that was being conservative, not counting the thousands of small expenses, meals out, clothes, gas money, entertainment. I sat there looking at that number and felt something settle in me. Not anger, not resentment, just clarity. I hadn't been a parent to Tyler, I'd been a resource, an ATM with emotions that could be manipulated when the machine ran low on cash. And I'd let it happen because I'd wanted so badly to be the father he didn't have that I'd accepted being the checkbook he didn't appreciate. I took out my phone and typed a response. Then I deleted it. I typed another one, deleted that too. I must have written and erased 10 different messages before I realized that nothing I could say in a text would actually address what needed to be addressed. This required a conversation, and it required me to be completely clear about where I stood. But before that conversation could happen, I needed to make sure I was protected. The next morning, I called my bank during my lunch break. "I need to put a fraud alert on my credit," I told the representative, "and I want to freeze my credit at all 3 bureaus." "Has there been suspicious activity on your accounts?" she asked. "I'm being proactive," I said. "Can you help me with that?" She walked me through the process. Within an hour, my credit was locked down. No one could open a new account or apply for a loan using my information without me specifically authorizing it. Then I called my financial advisor, a woman named Patricia, who'd been helping me manage my retirement accounts for the past decade. I need to review my beneficiary designations, I told her, and I want to discuss options for protecting my assets. We set up a meeting for the following week. Then I called my attorney, a guy I'd worked with on the house purchase and will preparation years ago. I need to update my estate plan, I said, and I want to make sure everything is structured correctly for my situation. He had an opening that Friday. I wasn't planning to divorce Amanda. I wasn't even particularly angry at her. Not really. She was doing what mothers do, protecting her child, even when that protection was harmful. I understood it, even if I couldn't accept it anymore. But I was done being financially vulnerable to Tyler's entitlement. When I got home that evening, Tyler's car was gone. Amanda was in the living room, reading. "Tyler's out with friends," she said without looking up. "I need to talk to you about something," I said. She set down her book, and I could see the wariness in her eyes. She knew what was coming, or thought she did. I sat down across from her. "Tyler texted me asking me to co-sign a car loan." "Oh," she said, brightening a little. "That's actually good news. He's being proactive about transportation. The gym is talking about giving him more hours, and he needs a reliable car to—" "I'm not going to co-sign for him." She stopped mid-sentence. "What?" "I'm not co-signing. Not for a car, not for an apartment, not for anything. Mark, he needs a car. His current one is barely running, and if he loses it, he can't get to work. Then he needs to figure out another solution. Save up for a cash car. Take the bus. Ask you. But I'm not putting my credit and financial security on the line for him again." "Again? What are you talking about?" I pulled out my phone and showed her the spreadsheet I'd created, all the expenses, all the money, all the years of financial support that had never been acknowledged or appreciated. She looked at it, and I watched her face change. You kept track of all this?" "I didn't keep track to throw it in anyone's face. I just wanted to understand the full picture. And the picture is that I've invested nearly $50,000 in Tyler over 16 years, not counting housing and daily expenses, and his response to that investment has been to tell me I'm not his father and that I don't matter. He was upset when he said that. He apologized." "He didn't apologize, Amanda." "He never apologized. He said, 'I didn't mean it,' when you pushed him to. But that's not the same thing." She was quiet for a long moment. "So what are you saying? That you want him to pay you back? Because he can't, Mark. He doesn't have that kind of money." "I don't want him to pay me back. The money is gone, and I made peace with that. What I want is for you to understand that I'm setting boundaries now. I will not co-sign for him. I will not loan him money. I will not bail him out of financial problems. He's an adult, and he needs to function as one." "He's my son." "I know, and you can continue supporting him however you want with your money, but I'm done." She looked at me like I'd struck her. "You're really going to punish him for one thing he said in anger?" "I'm not punishing him. I'm protecting myself. There's a difference." She stood up, her book falling to the floor. "This is cruel, Mark. He made a mistake. He's young. But you're going to hold it over his head and withdraw all support after everything we've built as a family?" "We haven't built anything as a family. We've built something as a couple, and you've built something with your son. But Tyler made it clear that he and I aren't family, so I'm simply respecting his boundaries. You know that's not what he meant." "Actually, I think that's exactly what he meant, and I think you've known it for a long time, but didn't want to deal with it." Tears started sliding down her face. "I can't believe you're doing this. After all these years, you're just going to give up on him?" "I'm not giving up on him. I'm giving up on being used by him. He can still live here. I'm not kicking him out. But the financial support stops. The co-signing stops. The bailing out stops. If he wants those things from me, he can start by treating me like someone who matters instead of someone who exists to solve his problems." She grabbed her keys and her purse. "I need to go for a drive." She left, and the house went silent. I sat there for a long time, waiting to feel guilty or regretful, but I didn't. I just felt tired and clear and strangely relieved. Amanda came home 3 hours later. Her eyes were red, but she was calm. "I talked to my sister," she said. "She thinks I've been enabling Tyler and that you're right to set boundaries." I didn't say anything. "But I need you to understand something," she continued. "He's my son. I can't just cut him off. I won't. If he needs help, I'm going to help him." "I know, and I'm not asking you to cut him off. I'm just asking you to understand that I'm not required to keep funding someone who doesn't value me." "Okay," she said quietly. "Okay." We didn't talk much the rest of that night. We went to bed in the same room, but might as well have been in different houses. The next morning, Tyler still hadn't responded to my lack of response to his text. I knew he was waiting for me to just say yes, the way I always had before. Instead, I sent him a simple message. "We need to talk. Let me know when you're available." He didn't respond for 6 hours. Finally, "About what?" "About your text. I'd rather discuss it in person." "Can't you just say yes or no?" "In person, Tyler?" Another long pause. Then, "Fine. I'll be home tonight around 8. He showed up at 8:30. I was sitting in the living room waiting. Amanda had strategically decided to visit her mother. Tyler walked in defensive before I'd even said a word. "So what's the big deal? It's just a cosign. You did it before. Sit down, please." He sat reluctantly on the edge of the couch like he was ready to bolt. "I'm not going to cosign the loan," I said. His face went through surprise, disbelief, then anger in rapid succession. "Are you serious? Because of what I said last week? You're really going to be that petty?" "This isn't about pettiness. It's about the reality of our relationship." "What does that even mean?" "It means you told me I'm not your father. You told me I'm just some guy who married your mom, and you were right, so I'm behaving accordingly." Oh my God, I was angry. People say stuff when they're angry. "You've seriously never said anything you didn't mean?" "Not like that. Not about something that fundamental. And more importantly, you've never apologized or tried to take it back. You've just avoided me and pretended it didn't happen." I'm sorry, okay? Is that what you want to hear?" "I want to hear it when you actually mean it, which, right now, you don't. You're sorry because you want something from me, not because you understand why what you said was hurtful." He stood up. "This is insane. Over one comment you're going to screw up my whole life? I need that car. Then buy one you can afford, or get your mother to co-sign, or improve your credit enough to qualify on your own. You know I can't do any of those things. Then I guess you'll need to figure something else out. Take the bus. Carpool. Save up. I don't know, Tyler, but it's your problem to solve, not mine." His face was red now, furious. "You're an asshole. You know that? A complete asshole. You've been holding all this over my head for years, just waiting for an excuse to cut me off. I've held nothing over your head. I've supported you unconditionally for 16 years. I've paid for your food, your housing, your education, your transportation, your emergencies. $46,000 in documented expenses, plus thousands more in daily costs. And I never asked you for a dime or even for gratitude. All I expected was basic respect. 46? You've been keeping track? What kind of psycho keeps track like that? The kind who finally decided to understand exactly how much I've invested in someone who thinks I don't matter. I never said you don't matter. You said I'm not your dad. You've made it clear through your actions for years that you see me as a convenience, not a person, so I'm done being convenient." He grabbed his keys, his hands shaking. "Mom's going to hear about this. She's going to lose her mind when I tell her how you're treating me." "Your mom already knows. We discussed it last night. And here's something you should understand, Tyler. She's your mother, and she'll probably keep helping you, because that's who she is. But her money is her money, my money is my money, and you won't be getting any more of mine. We'll see about that," he spat, and stormed out. I sat there in the silence after he left, and I waited for the guilt to come. It still didn't. Over the next few days, things got worse before they got better. Tyler complained to Amanda constantly. I could hear them talking in hushed voices when they thought I wasn't around. Amanda was torn. I could see it in her face. She didn't think I was wrong, but she hated the conflict, hated seeing Tyler upset. "Can't you just help him this one last time?" she asked me one night. "Please? For me?" "No, Mark. Amanda, every time has been one last time. Every crisis, every request, every bailout. It's always one more, just this once, just to help him get on his feet. And it never ends because he never has to learn. He never has to face real consequences because someone always saves him. He's not ready. He's 23. When will he be ready? 25? 30? How long are you planning to subsidize his refusal to grow up?" She didn't have an answer for that. Tyler, meanwhile, had ramped up his campaign. He posted vague social media updates about fake people and learning who really has your back. He told his friends I was punishing him for no reason. He started bringing people over at odd hours, playing music loud, being generally disruptive in ways he hadn't been before. I ignored it all. I met with my attorney that Friday. We reviewed my will, my beneficiary designations, my assets. I want to make sure that if something happens to me, my wife is protected, but my assets don't automatically flow to her son, I explained. He nodded, taking notes. "We can structure it with specific language. Leave everything to your wife with instructions that prevent her from gifting or bequeathing certain assets to Tyler. Or we can set up a trust with clear distributions." What do you recommend? Honestly, given what you've told me, I'd recommend a trust. It protects both you and your wife and removes the emotion from the equation. The trust can provide for her completely while ensuring that your wishes about Tyler are honored. We spent 2 hours going through options. By the end, I had a clear plan. I also asked him about my legal obligations to Tyler. "He's over 18, not disabled, and not your biological or legally adopted child," the attorney said. "You have zero legal obligation to support him financially. Morally, ethically, those are your decisions. But legally, you're completely clear." That's what I needed to hear. The following week, I met with Patricia, my financial advisor. "I want to make sure all my retirement accounts, investment accounts, and insurance policies are set up to protect my interests," I told her. We reviewed everything. Turned out Amanda was listed as primary beneficiary on most accounts, which was fine, but Tyler was listed as contingent beneficiary on a few things from years ago when I'd updated paperwork and Amanda had suggested it just in case. "I want him removed as contingent beneficiary from everything," I said. "Can I ask why?" I gave her the abbreviated version. She nodded slowly. "I see this more than you'd think," she said. "People trying to be generous and getting taken advantage of. Smart to protect yourself." We made all the changes. My contingent beneficiaries became my sister and my nephew. Tyler's name was removed from every financial document that bore it. I also moved some money around, setting up a separate account that only I had access to. Not because I didn't trust Amanda, but because I wanted to make sure I had resources that couldn't be drained for Tyler's next crisis. While all this was happening, Tyler's car situation apparently became critical. The Honda finally died completely. He started borrowing Amanda's car, which meant she was frequently without transportation. "This is a real problem, Mark," she said one evening. "I can't get to work when he has my car." "Then he needs to figure out alternative transportation." "He's trying. He's been looking at cars." "Good. When he saves enough for one, he can buy it." "That could take months." "Then it takes months. Or he takes the bus, or he carpools, or he adjusts his schedule to share your car more effectively. These are all solutions that don't involve me." She looked at me with something close to desperation. "I don't understand how you can be so cold about this." "I'm not being cold. I'm being boundaried. There's a difference." A week later, Tyler got into an argument with Amanda about borrowing her car. I wasn't there, but I heard about it afterward. He'd wanted to use it to go out with friends, and she'd said no because she needed it for work the next morning. He'd apparently exploded, telling her she was being selfish, that she was a terrible mother for not helping him, that I had poisoned her against him. Amanda came to me in tears. He's never talked to me like that before. Never. What's happening to him? I held her while she cried, but I didn't say what I was thinking, that this was who Tyler had always been, just usually directed at me instead of her. After she calmed down, she asked, "Do you think I should co-sign for a car for him, just to end this nightmare? Do you have $5,000 to $10,000 to lose when he stops making payments?" I asked. He wouldn't do that. He did it with the apartment. That was different. He was younger. He was 21. He's 23 now. 2 years hasn't made him more responsible, Amanda. It's made him more entitled. She wiped her eyes. I just don't know what to do anymore. Stop saving him. Stop protecting him from his own choices. Let him struggle. Let him figure it out. It's the only way he'll ever actually grow. What if he doesn't figure it out? What if he just fails? Then he fails. And he learns from failing. And he becomes stronger. Or he doesn't, and he learns what failure costs. Either way, it's his journey, not ours. She didn't co-sign. I don't know if it was because of what I said or because she was finally seeing Tyler clearly, but she didn't do it. Tyler's solution was to buy a $1,000 car off Craigslist using money he'd apparently borrowed from a friend. The car was a disaster. Leaked oil, had a cracked windshield, failed inspection, but it ran, barely. He blamed me for forcing him to buy such a terrible car, posted about it on social media, told anyone who would listen that his stepdad had refused to help him, so he'd had to scrape by with whatever he could afford. I didn't respond to any of it, didn't defend myself, didn't engage. About 3 weeks after I'd declined to co-sign, Tyler came home one evening and actually knocked on the door of my home office where I was working on some reports. "Can I talk to you?" he asked. "Come in." He sat down across from my desk, and he looked different, tired, less angry, more deflated. I wanted to say that I get why you didn't co-sign. I still think it was harsh, but I get it." I waited. "And I'm sorry for real this time, for what I said. You're right that I didn't mean the apology before. I just wanted you to say yes. But I've been thinking about it, and you've done a lot for me over the years. A lot. And I took it for granted." I studied his face. He seemed sincere, but I'd thought he seemed sincere before. "I appreciate you saying that," I said. "So, are we good?" "We're working toward good. But Tyler, understand something. The dynamic we had before is over. I'm not going back to being someone you come to whenever you need money or favors. If you want a relationship with me, it has to be an actual relationship, not a transaction." He nodded slowly. "Okay, I can do that." "I hope so." He left, and I felt something shift. Not back to the way it was, but towards something different. Maybe better, maybe not. Time would tell. But 2 days later, he asked Amanda for $300 for car repairs. And 3 days after that, he asked if I could help him move some furniture for a friend. And a week after that, his Craigslist car died, and he started the cycle all over again, needing a new car, needing help, needing money. The apology had been tactical, not transformational. That's when I realized that nothing was going to change. Not really. Because Tyler didn't want to change. He wanted things to go back to the way they were, where his needs were everyone else's priority and his gratitude was optional. I stopped hoping for different. Last night, Amanda and I had the conversation I'd been avoiding for months. "I love you," I told her, "but I can't keep living in a house where I'm treated like an obligation instead of a person." "You're not." "I am, by Tyler, and increasingly by you, because you're so focused on protecting him that you can't see how it's affecting us." She started crying. "I don't know how to fix this." "You can't fix it. Tyler has to fix it. And until he decides to, I need you to understand that I'm not changing my boundaries. He can live here, but I will not financially support him. I will not bail him out. I will not co-sign. I will not loan. I will treat him with respect and civility, but I will not be used." "Okay," she whispered. "And I need you to stop asking me to make exceptions. Every time you ask, It tells me that you think his comfort is more important than my dignity. I don't think that. Then stop acting like it. We held each other for a long time after that. This morning I woke up and felt lighter than I have in years. Not because anything had been resolved, but because I'd finally stopped waiting for permission to protect myself. Tyler is still living in our house. He's still struggling. He's still making poor choices. But they're his choices, and his consequences, and his lessons to learn. I'm done being the safety net for someone who saw me as a trampoline, something to land on so he could bounce back up without ever having to touch the ground. I don't know how this story ends. Maybe Tyler eventually matures and we build something real. Maybe he doesn't, and we remain polite strangers sharing a house until he finally moves out. Maybe Amanda and I grow closer through this, or maybe the strain breaks us. But whatever happens, I know this. I'm not funding anyone's disrespect anymore. Not with my money, not with my time, not with my peace. And that decision, that simple, clear decision to value myself as much as I've valued everyone else, has given me back something I didn't even realize I'd lost. My dignity.